You're in your 40s or 50s, juggling work, family, and a million responsibilities. And suddenly, your anxiety feels like it's stronger than ever. You lie awake at 3 a.m., you're running through tomorrow's to-do list, or wondering if you've forgotten something important that you were supposed to get done today. So maybe you've always been a little anxious, but lately it feels different. It feels stronger, it feels harder to manage. What's going on? Well, hello and welcome. I'm Covelli, a licensed therapist, and this is Redefining 40 Plus, where we talk about the emotional challenges and wins women face in life over 40. Studies show anxiety peaks for many people between 45 and 59 years old. So today, we're looking into why anxiety often intensifies in midlife, and more importantly, what you can do to find relief. Let's get into it. So midlife brings all sorts of transitions, events, and experiences that contribute to increased anxiety. And in this video, I'm covering some of the more common factors that can increase anxiety in midlife. Now, if there's one of these you'd like me to do a more detailed video on, just comment below. I'll be happy to do that. So the first factor we're going to start with is hormonal shifts. So women, perimenopause and menopause affect your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, and all of these dysregulated hormones influence your mood and stress and cause hot flashes, night sweats, low sex drive, vaginal dryness, irritability, anxiety and depression, irregular periods, brain fog, aches and pains, weight gain, and just feeling like it's more difficult to handle stress. These are some of the symptoms that can occur if you're shifting into perimenopause and menopause, and they can absolutely increase or cause anxiety. And if you are experiencing anxiety or any of these symptoms, please see your doctor to discuss your treatment options. And if you need a doctor, you can check the directory of the Menopause Society. So if you have difficulty finding a doctor to help you when you're feeling this way, or if you need a doctor and want to try and find someone who specializes or has a special interest in perimenopause or menopause, go to the Menopause Society at menopause.org. I'll link it below, and you can see their directory and see if there's a doctor in your area who, again, has this specialized training in working with women experiencing perimenopause and menopause. And if you're not sure where to even start with speaking with your doctor, you can grab my free checklist of perimenopause and menopause symptoms. I'll link that below as well. It's a downloadable PDF of symptoms you literally check off and give to your doctor. And it also includes a list of general questions to ask your doctor. So sometimes I know I've left a doctor's office and literally kick myself for not bringing up something that in my mind I said I have to talk to the doctor about this. So you can literally check this off. You can make a copy for yourself, or you just hand it to the doctor, and it's just a great conversation starter so your doctor can also know what you're experiencing. They can get a full picture and hopefully be able to provide you the treatment options that would work best to help you. So again, if you're like me and you forget to bring things up with your doctor, definitely grab that checklist. The next contributing factor to increasing or intensifying anxiety in midlife is actually more like an umbrella. And so this covers several different factors. So this is what I'm going to call hitting your chronic stress limit. Chronic meaning ongoing stress that has been ongoing for however long, right? Months, years, decades, maybe even since childhood, not events that just come on the radar suddenly. These are stressors and a level of stress that you carry day to day to day to day. And the effects of living in a state of chronic stress are cumulative. It's like you have a new cell phone, right? And with a new cell phone, you have multiple apps open and running in the background, and it's not an issue. It doesn't affect how your phone works. But over time, having those multiple apps open and running can slow down your phone. It can interfere with the functioning of your phone and make it even glitchy. So, like, in other words, the amount of stress you're able to handle in your 20s or 30s is not sustainable in your 40s or 50s without it affecting your physical or emotional health. So let's look at what falls under this umbrella. Okay, so first, I'm going to look at generational and societal factors. What do I mean by this? So at this age, midlife right now, the age ranges capture predominantly Gen X women, right? So Gen X women, or the Gen X generation, was raised very specifically with very definitive messages. And some of these messages were along the lines of push through it and suck it up and don't complain, like those kind of messages. And messages as far as like what you could do in the world. You can have it all as a woman, but you also have to do it all, and do it all on your own. So there was a lot of the messages of this independence that was placing adult responsibilities on kids and kind of having to suck it up and not complain because it could be worse. What happens is this leads to suppressing stress and suppressing emotions. And then you can only really push stress and upsetting feelings down for so long because, again, it's cumulative, which means your body remembers. You may think these feelings are gone, but they're really not. If they're not processed or expressed through, they just sit there and they pile up and pile up and pile up. So the next factor under this umbrella is being a part of the sandwich generation. Many women in midlife are primary caregivers and work demanding jobs, and it's difficult to have the time or the space, A, to get it all done, B, to be able to hold all this responsibility, especially if parents have some major medical issues, if you're facing placing them into some kind of long-term care situation. And then if you have children who are young or graduating high school or at whatever age, you have to be present for your children, you have to be present for your parent, and then you have to be present if there's a partner in the situation, you have to be present for your partner. Many women in midlife who are in the sandwich generation, many women in the sandwich generation don't have the time, the capacity, or the bandwidth to practice self-care or to really think beyond the next situation they have to take care of. The next factor underneath this umbrella is, I would say, shifting identity and life transitions, like an existential crisis. You start thinking of, who am I when I'm not doing things for others? What's next for me? It brings up questions about your identity, brings up questions about your next steps. What do you do when transitions occur? Children leave, jobs change, status with partners or marriages can change. And this can all trigger looking at the bigger picture and what you really want out of life. The next factor under this umbrella is accumulated emotional stress. Under this, I'm talking about past experiences or unresolved emotions that start to resurface in midlife when life slows down or when you enter perimenopause and your hormones become dysregulated. And that can happen when things slow down. It can happen when you're feeling even more stressed trying to figure things out. And it can really happen where for years, again, into that chronic, for years you might have focused on everyone else. And again, you work, your family, your responsibilities. And now as life shifts and there's transitions, so again, transitions could be a divorce. It could be children going to college, moving out. It could be parents passing. Any of these kind of shifts, job changes, those underlying feelings, it can trigger those underlying feelings to resurface. So now let's talk about what can happen with your brain function, carrying this emotional load over a prolonged period of time. I mean, first, what can happen is you could literally be living in a stress response, a fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. Well, what is that? So fight, flight, freeze, fawn are responses that are innate to us, to everybody, where when our body perceives that we are in danger it will shift its physiological functioning to get ready to fight this danger. We're not meant to be functioning in that state for a prolonged period of time. This kind of prolonged exposure to living in this state does take its toll on your mind and body. It increases inflammation throughout your body. It can worsen depression and anxiety. What can you do to find relief? First, there are what I'll say are coping skills. So coping skills are tasks that you do in the moment when you're feeling anxious or stressed, right? So they're what you could do to help alleviate the stress and anxiety while you're feeling it. So a few of these skills are, I'll say the first one is to recognize anxiety's role. So this is to kind of remind yourself that anxiety is a way of your brain, it's your brain's way of trying to protect you, right? Understanding that anxiety is coming from this perspective, that it's not out to harm you, it's out to protect you. It can help if you're able to connect with that understanding. The next would be what's called reframing anxious thoughts. These skills that I'm talking about are most helpful before your anxiety hits high level. Try, if they can, shift that thought. So if it's a what if, so let's say, what if I walk out my door and I tumble down the stairs? That's my fear. Then shift that to, if I tumble down the stairs, then fill in the blank, right? So it shifts it from a feeling of helplessness, like what if I have no control over this, to almost setting up a plan, right? If I walk out my door and I happen to tumble down my stairs, then what am I going to do? Then I'm going to call for help. I'm going to make sure that whether or not I'm hurt, to bring in that sense of control and that sense of self-determination. So another way is to, this is more with the body. So this is reconnecting with your body through your breath. Deep breaths into your diaphragm help to bring your parasympathetic nervous system online. That is your relaxation response. So when you're in your sympathetic nervous system response, then your body is getting ready for fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and it is not taking deep breaths. It's taking very shallow breaths from your chest. So if you are able to take deep breaths into your diaphragm, if you don't know where your diaphragm is, it's below your ribs, above your belly button. You could even put one hand on your chest and one hand on your diaphragm to feel that breath go in, and notice that bottom hand if it rises. Now your chest will rise as well, but you want to make sure that they both rise, and it's not just your chest and it's not short breaths. The longer and slower you take to inhale and exhale will also help with the relaxation response. There are many different breathing skills or different approaches. There is square breathing. There's also breathing where you can exhale longer than what you inhale. So if you inhale, let's say for a count of 5, try to exhale for a count of 8. Do it for a few times. See if it helps calm the anxiety. Another approach that helps people is journaling and mindfulness. So I'm kind of grouping that together. So journaling, you can do journaling in any way that you want. So journaling helps with getting what's in your head out of your head, helps to process emotions. You could do it as a daily practice. You could do it every so often. You could write as much or as little as you want. I oftentimes tell people to just take a little notepad, because sometimes the actual physical writing is better than just putting it in the Notes app. But if you prefer the Notes app, either way, it's going to help. But to use that as a means to jot down the thoughts that are stressing you out in that moment. So if you're feeling something in that moment, write it down. I'm so upset right now. I'm so pissed off right now. I'm so happy right now. I'm so angry right now. And it could just be a sentence or two. So you're able to get those thoughts out in the moment before you push it down and suppress it. Again, journaling is whatever you want to make of it. Now, mindfulness ties into the breathing. Mindfulness is being present in the moment with openness and curiosity and without judgment. And mindfulness goes back to a little bit with that breathing. So if you're breathing to calm your anxiety down and you bring yourself back in the moment, that's mindfulness. But you can also do a meditation. You can do a daily or every so often practice, at least maybe a few minutes a day, to help you feel grounded and in the present. Because when you're feeling anxious, you're not in the present. You're in the past or you're in the future. So now looking at a little bit on a deeper level, anxiety is also often tied to negative beliefs about yourself that can be traced back to your childhood, can be traced back to unhealthy or dysfunctional family dynamics, or unprocessed trauma, past disturbing experiences. So sometimes if your coping skills aren't helping enough, it would be worth it to try to seek some professional support and find out what's happening. Because if anxiety feels like an alarm going off all the time, or it feels like all the time, coping skills can help lower the volume temporarily, but therapy can really help you figure out why the alarm is going off in the first place. Therapy isn't just about managing anxiety. It really can be used to help you understand and process the roots of what's contributing to anxiety. If anxiety is making your daily life harder, reaching out for support and finding the right support can really make a difference. Midlife anxiety isn't just about aging. It's the result of accumulated stress, shifting hormones, and the emotional load many women have carried for years. But here's the good news. With the right support, you can ease that anxious tension and feel more like yourself again. So if this resonated for you, drop a comment below and let me know what your experience has been in midlife with anxiety. And if you want more insights like this, hit subscribe. I post videos every week with guidance for navigating midlife with clarity and confidence.